Alright, let's get started. This is going to be game 2 of Glyph Sandbox versus Frederick Brion. I did record game 1 as well, but unfortunately, I don't know why, but OBS switched my mic capture, so I was muted for the whole thing, which is a shame, because I felt like I actually casted that one pretty well, but at the very least, I think I have a better idea of what me casting well sounds like, so I'm just going to try and work off that. Just looking at the drafts, um, kind of started off later in the timestamp. Looks like first pick is here for the side of Lift Sandbox. Fred Brion wanted blue side. They wanted to snipe the Wukong away. Nope. Or Poppy ban on the third pick. Should have telegraphed that one to Lift Sandbox that Poppy was being banned. But in their heads, they said, oh, we just banned 380 carries. Sure, we trade away the Wukong, but we get the Zeri priority and they don't get any of the popular counters. Take the Vi second pick. Azir Seri was second pick. Fred Brion opted for Varus Tom Kench. I was talking about this in my last recording. I really, really didn't like the Varus pick. Sure, you can follow up on the Solar Flare with your ultimate, but you were just so outranged by Prince that if you were in range to be dealing damage to him, you were already dead. And if you weren't, then the Akali was just all over you on the backline. This game will be a bit different. There's not as heavy dive on the enemy team, but there is a Vi instead of a Poppy who's a little bit better at getting on top of 80 carries. Renata with the Zeri, just another standard enchanter pick. I think Renata can be quite strong depending on the support who's playing it. Kyle had a quiet early game 1, mostly due to being on Yumi, but he's by no means a bad support, so just looking at the team comps, I expect this to be a pretty free win for Liv Sandbox. I think Tom Kench and Tazeri really, really sucks. She just dashes out of all your CC. She's quicker than you, even if you do eat a teammate. She steals your shields. It's just a really bad situation. Mid lane, Lissandra into the Azir. The problem I find with the Lissandra pick is Sandbox isn't running a 1 carry composition. Even if you manage to root up the Zeri, I imagine she's already taken cleanse, so that's really not an option. So you just do the Azir, right? But if you waste your ult on Azir, Zeri will kill you in half a millisecond. And lastly, the elephant, or rather the crocodile in the room, the croc. I really don't think Renekton is good. Even with the Sunfire build, the champ just has the same limitations as it always does. Unless you're ahead, like a full item on the enemy carry, you just don't have the damage in the mid and late game to really pose a threat to them, and you're not tanky enough to disrupt the backline long enough. Like, you really do just get melted. And your dash range isn't far enough for you to be like a reasonable engage. Looks like Dove is gonna opt for the tank Gragas build again. Same as last game, he's just playing for Prince. Once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, a change of runes we do see is Closer has opted for Airy over First Strike or Conqueror. Looks like he's gonna be playing for lane phase. I think it's possible for him to do either the pen build or the attack speed build we're seeing. I actually, unlike last game where I was sort of malding about Crown, because you're just outranged from the get-go against Zeri, I think unless you're hit by a Varus Q, so as long as you just have your eye on the Varus, no one can really proc your Crown, and it's pretty good into Wukong and Renekton, I would say. Once again, I still think the item just has major design flaws. If you get hit by a single spell, any time in the region before a team fight begins, because it's a 40-second cooldown, right? Your item is just pretty much useless, which really sucks. Morgan getting a good trade-ish. Level 1 Dove does heal back with the passive. Just going back to what I've been saying about how the 12-14 nerf to sustain really, really boosted Gragas' laning, I think, because he's really the only one who can compete, because he's the only one with that kind of sustain anymore. I think other notable champions are like Tryndamere. Gwen has a little bit, not quite as enough compared to the other two, I would say. Just some trading back and forth in the bot lane. Obviously, Varus, Tom Kench will be able to get the push early. Zeri's pretty weak level 1, as is the Renata. whereas Varus and Tahm Kench both have pretty distinguishable amounts of poke. One thing this composition does for Fredit Brion is actually the same with the last game, is they have push in all three lanes. Fortunately, that means if MT is not proactive on the map, then Kroko might have a gank timing here. Let's see. I think Henna might just be dead. Oh, Kroko sort of messes up his flash follow. Good knockup by Delight. I really think Henna should have died there. Bit of a misplay by Kroko, but it's okay. They still force out both sums from the AD carry in exchange for both the sums from the Renata. A negative sum trade overall, but should be pretty good for the bot lane of Live Sandbox. Buys more space for the Zeri to farm and breathe. You can see Umti does some quick maths really quick. Sees, Vi only had 3 camps when she went for that bot play. I have mid push. I have top push. We can just really screw the Vi here. But actually really intelligent from Kyle. They have the back timer right now, and he knows that Fredit Brion wants to play for the topside camps. Already rotated up. Umti's going to go for the red buff, and he's going to walk into Kyle right here. Ooh, they don't spot each other. Sweeps it out. Trying to see if maybe he has a window to go on Dove. Manages to get the ward, and is moving with Morgan. This could be dangerous for Kroko. He doesn't have flash. Does see the Wukong hop over the wall though, knows that he's safe, goes back onto the buff. Not all the shenaniganiness. Fredit Brion has lost out on their window of having topside push. Kroko has managed to sort of equalize the farm. He is spotted on a ward. Really intelligent here by Kroko to understand that this could have been warded by Morgan and pulling the camp. Although he doesn't have flash, he should be relatively safe. He even has first rotation from Dove, which means this play by Umti is quite questionable. Is using a bit of the mind games though. Might manage to get the camp, does indeed. But what this does mean is Kroko's going to make it to the rest of his camp sooner than Umti will. Umti hasn't gotten a reset off. He might just have to run straight to his Gromp and Wolves if he wants to catch their respawns. That'll put him quite behind on his reset. We see the double longsword. Chempunk Chainsword has been the standard rush. It was nerfed on patch 12.14. Some people have still been playing it. Personally, I don't think the item is strong enough to warrant a rush, especially into pretty low sustained team comps like Fredit Brion has. It's possible he could be going Divine Thunderer. Unfortunately, Vi doesn't really have the greatest mythics in the world. I still play by Dove, just beating out some sums from Morgan. Gets a trade back with the Grasp. The Grasp of the Undying. In it. And Sandbox has the bot push. We'll see if they opt into taking an early dragon here with their push. Prince did reset not too long ago, but they could just go for another one since they have a pretty good back timer here. Kroko spots empty, hopping the dragon wall. Prince cancels his base just to move up, make sure that no funny business is going to be happening here. Looks like it'll be a scuffle over the Scuttle Crab. Good knockup by Kroko. Gets a nice little chunk out onto Umpty at the start. And Prince is zoning Hannah away. They could turn onto Prince, but of course he still has Flash Dash and Cleanse. Pretty difficult, and Fredit Brion decide, actually, this fight doesn't seem reasonable. Just go back to farming your camps. Umpty actually never got his Gromp Wolves respawn, whereas Kroko did, so he's wasting a bit of time here. Kroko might actually have a window to start this dragon, because Umpty needs to clear those top camps, or he'll be behind. We'll see if Kroko is keeping track of it. If he'd hit tab, he should know that, like, Umpty's only camp has been the Krugs, and that his entire top side is up for the taking. In fact, if Umpty shows here, and he steals all his top camps, Kroko should just be sending it, I think. Of course, his mid doesn't quite have push yet, and Morgan does, which means he actually won't be able to go for the invade. Okay, nice reserve play. Morgan doesn't really check though, he just feints, which means Kroko might have gotten away with it. He does, however, now have upgraded Smite. What's important here, looking between these two junglers, although Fred and Brion have a it was 200 gold lead, but now it's even. Although Umti and Kroko are basically even, in fact, Umti will be ahead by the numbers once he finishes these top camps. He took too long getting to these respawns. This is only his second clear, whereas Kroko's third clear is respawning right now, because Umti wasted so much time bot side and reset into the Krug's camp, into looking for the Scuttle Crab. So, Kroko's going to be pretty far ahead in the experience department. Umti only just barely ticked 5. He's probably at 5.5 right now after finishing this topside clear. Kroko's going to use this timing window to go for the early Drake, and then once he finishes this bot side clear, he should ding over to 6. Umti should hit 6 once he finishes... Oh, actually, he hit 6 a little bit sooner than I thought. I guess his blue buff respawn was enough. Henna and Delight just unleashing the red buff in case they think Kroko's going to invade for it. We'll just be finishing up the mountain drag right now. Kroko could go for this red buff. It's a bit risky, seeing as he's not really sure what Umti's going to do next. They don't have any vision on him. Umti could reset and run here. He could just run straight from Herald. Lysandra can always just leave her wave and have value with her ultimate. He should get this off. Really nice cast by Dove onto Morgan. Good body slam. No kill threat, unfortunately, but just a good little trade back. Is down 15 CS again. Once again, I think this is pretty high, even despite it being a Renekton lane. I think Dove should have more control of the lane, but once again, could just be respecting Umti. Might have lost a bit of CS when he was moving over to help Kroko. Kroko does have his whole jungle to clear now, so this right here is when you should see him really swing ahead of Umti in the experience department. Especially since he managed to steal the buff away, which means he'll triple buff on this jungle spawn rotation. Of course, since Dove isn't going tier or the AP build, he is hurting for mana quite a bit. That could be affecting why he's falling behind so much in these lane phases. Misses Q on the melee, kind of hurts there. The trade onto Morgan isn't really going to be meaningful in the long term. He was really shooting for that minion there. Well, he was shooting for both, but greeted and only ended up getting the trade onto the Renekton. Kyle just getting more control of the river while Prince shoves in the lane. Closer's just been having a quiet lane phase, up 10 CS. Pretty standard. Lava goes in, good engage, good flash. Unfortunately, Lava didn't click his ult button, and so the CC chain isn't coming through. Really odd misplay by Lava. Even with the Azir wall, the ult should still go off. While it is a misplay, I think perhaps what Lava was thinking there, we'll see if we get a replay, is he might have been wanting to perfectly chain the CC, waiting till the root is about to run out and then getting the ult. Unfortunately, in the root, Closer can still wall him back, and he's pushed out of range. Doesn't manage to click the ult while he's in the air. Closer just flashes out, nice and easy. And it's a waste of Umti and Delight's time. Meanwhile, Kroko finishes his full clear. He's 4 camps up on this Wukong right now, which is pretty crazy. Is now going to push for some mid clear. Umti will equalize on his topside camps, but it does suck to see the Wukong this far behind. He is more of a mid-game jungler and plays for the team fights where he can get these big cyclones, but he shouldn't be getting out CS this hard unless something's gone wrong. Just once again questioning how much time Umti has really spent looking for plays in the enemy jungle or in the river. That hasn't really netted him anything. Unfortunately, I don't really know if the fault lies with Umti. His team drafted early push, and they aren't really pushing to get him in any advantages. Morgan just ignoring Dove here, going for the plates. However, Cask might come through, and Kroko's here. Really good Cask. Good flash to dodge out on the Vault Breaker, but unfortunately, Assault and Battery is there. Good Q by Morgan. May live here, but both the dashes come through. Easy first blood for Kroko. Really punishing the overextension by Morgan for those plates there. Rift Herald is summoned in the mid lane. It will end up being that Divine Sunderer build for Kroko and the Chem Tank build for Gragas. Bork Rush first by Renekton. This is pretty standard. Still allows him heavy damage onto carries, but we'll see what his tank item of choice will be. I don't expect a Gore Drink or anything like that, as Kyle will get dashed upon by MT. They can't really find anything here. I wonder if they'll even get the Gromp with the Azir rotating down. Looks like Azir wants to recall though. He should have his mythic item in base. Will be one of the Lost Chapter ones, excuse me. Could be Leandri's or Crown. Will be the pretty standard Crown for this Azir. However, it does look like Lava is going for a full penetration Lissandra build. Quite like it. He's the only AP on his team. His job is to just blow up one of the backline carries and hope that the cascading effects of his ice figures is enough to swing a team fight in their favor, combined with the Wukong. And is going for the same build he went last game, just an on-hit shield bow into Guinsoo's build most likely. Unfortunately for them, Liv Sandbox has gotten both the early dragons this game, and extra unfortunately, it won't be a Cloud Soul again. We'll see what the soul ends up being. Could be Hextech, could be Infernal, could be Ocean. Ocean's maybe the best case scenario for the Brionne. A Mountain Soul would just nullify Lava's build, which really sucks, and obviously you don't want to be playing Infernal Soul into a Zeri. But even then, Ocean Soul on Zeri and Azir isn't the end of the world with a hard engage comp, because you could just blow them up, but if you don't manage to clean those kills off, as Lava goes forward, I don't really think that play would have worked out. Even if Closer hadn't shuffled away, he probably would have just gotten turned on by Croco and died. For the Brionne, conceding second Drake again. Morgan's going to push, try and see if he can take this top tower, get some gold in their favor. They are down 500 right now, but once this tower is taken, I would expect it to be evened up, or even pushed into their favor by maybe 100 or 200 gold. Cloud Drake does go the way, and it will be the Hextech Rift spawning for the side of Liv Sandbox. They're now 100 gold in the lead, pretty negligible. All the mythic items have come across on the side of Liv Sandbox except for Kyle, whereas Fred and Brionne are still waiting on that Ludens from the Lissandra. Technically, Renekton doesn't have a mythic as well, opting for that Blade of the Ruined King first item. But regardless, everyone's on their one item power spike. Zeri is 1/3 of the way to just being an absolute monster that will tear this game to shreds. We'll have a look at the plate differences. You can see top lane tends to be the lane where Fred and Brionne are at least able to get some advantages. This will likely be the last game of the regular season for both of these teams, and unfortunately for Fred and Brionne, this will be their last game of the year. I think Morgan, as always, has impressed. The rest of the team have had their moments. Obviously, in spring, they made it to playoffs. Quite an achievement for them, especially after their record last year. Engaged here by Dove onto Delight. His cast forward doesn't really send anyone far. The ultimate comes out from the Renata, but Dove is just picked up and cleaned off. Good CC chain. Unfortunately, that's all their ultimates, and they're trading away a bot tower for second Herald. With the buffs to second Herald, I do think this play is pretty net positive for the side of Fred and Brionne. Nice early game proactivity. Unless Croco and Closer have anything to say about it. Looks like they're sending it in. If they lose this Herald, this is pretty bad. Good smite on the back of the eye by Umpty. Just locks it up. Closer shuffles Henna off of him. They have no ultimates because they spent them all on that pick here. Ultimate comes through by the Vi onto the Tahm Kench. That's 2 clean kills for them. Will they keep going onto the Lissandra? No, but it looks like they will claim the topside camps of Umpty. And Croco's already a full level over the Wukong. Really hurts. At least they do get the Rift Herald, though. However, they might... There's not a big enough wave here for Prince to trade the tower. They did trade the bond tower, though. In the extension, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Liv Sandbox. Pretty questionable by the side of Fred and Brionne to be hanging around that long after they wasted all their... Well, not wasted all their ults. They traded all their ultimates for the kill right here. You see, Dove goes in onto Delight. Unfortunately, his cask doesn't really get the knockback effect he deserves. Henna just goes into the wall. He's still in auto attack range. The hostile takeover only hits the Wukong, who's stuck in a Cyclone animation to begin with. And then right here, Delight is just up too far. Lava goes in for a really questionable engage. Flash W's closer. Still no ultimate. Still no ultimate on Henna. No Cyclone on the Wukong. I have no clue what Lava thinks he's going to accomplish here onto a full health closer. Sort of just sells this team fight for his team. And by the end of it, gold is back in the Live Sandbox's favor. Up 400 once again on their hyper-scaling composition. Fred and Brion really need to find a big gold swing with the second Herald. Otherwise, I think this game will just spiral out of their control. Live Sandbox doing the exact same thing they did in Game 1. Playing it slow till the 25-minute mark. Their series on 3 items, and then all of a sudden they're up 20 kills. This Wukong isn't really getting the advantages it should be getting, as we have the Assault and Battery onto the Tahm Kench, Flash Force out. Lava has a good flank angle. The hostile takeover does come through. TP coming through by Morgan. Cask manages to knock Lava and Morgan into a wall. There is one kill picked up. Zeri dashing in. Prince feeling himself. Knows he's pretty unkillable with the Renata on him. Unfortunately, does go too far forward. Is shut down. Henna is low, though. Good flash by Croco. Excuse me, not flash by Croco. Just good Gyu. Good attempt. Ring of Frost does manage to root Croco there. It secures Lava's escape. But this fight really just showcased what I was about to touch on. I really don't like this Varus pick. I don't know why in the draft they're playing for this Wukong or Poppy on the first rotation, or sorry, last game they didn't pick Poppy, Xin Zhao on the first rotation when they're not accomplishing anything with it. Prince sort of goes well, not sort of, he goes a bit too far forward and almost throws this fight here. But look at Henna. His champion should be stronger on the one item spike, and he is still doing nothing to this Zeri, who's really not that strong on just one item. Just really questionable draft decisions, I would have to say, from Fred Brion. The sequence of play isn't horrible. Nothing really stand out. I would have liked to see Lava be a bit quicker on the trigger in peeling his backline, but it still doesn't change the fact that, look, this Varus can't play either of these games. He's just getting dived on repeatedly. He has no mobility. This champion is not in the meta for a reason. The on-hit build is really not netting them anything here. He's not able to peel the dive. His ultimates really aren't accomplishing anything aside from that one pick they managed to find in the top river that he aided out in. Once again, it looks like Live Sandbox are just going to hit the 20-minute mark and they're just going to blow this game right open with their scaling composition. I expect it will be the Shirelia's Battle Song coming out for the Renata, as well as the Locket of the Iron Solari for the Tahm Kench as the mythic items. Vertibrion trying to get a cheese gank off onto Dove. Even if they do manage to find him, I wonder if they even have the damage with Renekton and Wukong to kill him. Cask would have been up in about 10 seconds. Let's have another look at this fight. Croco just clicks the ult button. Zeri dashes forward. Really easy kill onto the Varus. Vertibrion is forced to retreat as they start up their Hextech Soul Point. Does go the way of Live Sandbox, and now in 4.5 minutes, Vertibrion have to fight. While down 3k gold, or possibly more, against an enemy scaling composition, with a Zeri that should be on her 3-item spike and will just murder the entire enemy composition. Backs to the wall, this game doesn't really mean much for either of these teams. I would have liked to see Vertibrion at least try something more than this defensive Varus Tahm Kench pick that's really not doing anything. Prince is one of the best AD carries in the league in the late game team fights. I feel like you have to try and do something early game to him, rather than just saying, okay, Henna, farm, and then try and out-team fight him. Wukong going forward, but the Zeri just kites it out, aided by the Renata W. And now looks like Live Sandbox are just going to turn on to the Baron. With Zeri, Renata, and Azir, this Baron should shred really fast. Fred and Brion know that they're on it, but I really don't think they can do anything. They have no jungler, no Wukong to engage the fights, which means their best hope is a Varus route, or Renekton finding a Miracle W. And it looks like Live Sandbox are just engaging onto Tahm Kench. They're just baiting at the Baron, and they're slowly going to farm kills here. They're not even taking any damage due to Krako's ability to tank. Lava's looking for a flank. is caught by the Ultra Shock Laser as the engage comes through onto Morgan. Does go down, Lava goes in, good ultimate, manages to put a lot of damage down, but once again, Henna just can't find a way into these fights. He's auto-attacking, but he's dealing no damage, and Lava will just be the next to fall. Clean kill for Zeri. They are a bit low though, so Baron successfully stopped by Frederick, but at what cost? 6k gold lead now for Lift Sandbox. They'll just reset. There's no possible way for to solo this Baron or anything. They'll just come back out and rinse repeat. Zeri should have finished Lord Dominic's regards with this sequence of play. As you can see, the cask pushes Lava away. He's not able to get the ult off onto Umti. Umti just isn't able to secure the kill with the Renata W on. I really have to question Lava this entire game. He's just not quick enough on his ult trigger. Finally, after the sequence of events, Delight, unfortunately, has to be the one to face check. Morgan's the next one who has to face check. They're both just sacrifices in the name of stalling the Baron. Lava does get a really good engage here. Hostile takeover goes quite wide by Kale. Does manage to get a lot of damage down, but unfortunately can't secure any kills, can't get any of the ice figurines to turn the tide of this fight. Henna is just not dealing any damage. I really think he's getting screwed by the composition that they've drafted here for Brion. In combination with Lava's finger being a bit slow on the R key. Baron does go down for Brion. Engage onto closer. Unfortunately, he does just get pushed away. He should be able to shuffle his way out of this. Good flash. And Zeri's here, just gunning down, just running through. Prince is just going to keep going. This man is a psychopath. He knows that he's the strongest champion in this game, and he's just going to push for a pentakill. That's 3? Almost? Going for the Wukong? That's a quadra-kill? Morgan is a bit far, but you can see the pings by Lift Sandbox. This would be his second pentakill of the series. They managed to pick one up on the Sivir earlier. Prince is running through the tower. Brion is locked up. Morgan's looking... Oh, Croco! He says, this one's mine. I'm carrying this entire series early game. You already got one. You don't deserve a second one, Prince. Incredibly overtuned champion Zeri is. This is what, like her 30th pentakill of the split in the 4 major regions. This champion is absolutely insane. Can't believe it hasn't been nerfed yet. And looks like we'll just claim an inhib for the side of Lift Sandbox. They'll go claim their Hex Hexul, which is incredibly annoying on Zeri. And we'll just have another look at this fight. They've blown all their engage on the Azir, couldn't manage to find him, and Prince is just free to free fire in. Croco gets a nice ultimate onto Henna, who once again just dies because his champion is completely useless and doesn't do anything in these fights. Prince going for MT, and you can see, instead of opting to close the game out, they're pinging. Croco does get it. You can see the fist bump in the air. He says, this one's mine. The utter gasp of betrayal on Prince's face. How could he? 40 more seconds on this Baron. Lift Sandbox going to push for one more inhib, and then you have to imagine turn for the soul. Cask doesn't really find much, but it's alright. The cooldown's low enough. In about 40 seconds, they'll fish for the same thing. Renekton looking for a flank angle, unfortunately is caught out by Croco. Eats a substantial chunk of damage. And as their towers just go down. A disappointing end of the year to Brion. Unfortunately, not able to find anything. The corruption sails wide. Wow, the wombo combo engage. Azir ult, Zeri ult just absolutely blows up the backline. Morgan's next. Is that a quadra kill for Zeri? Oh my goodness, she's gonna get another penta. There it is, pentakill for Zeri. This champion is so insane. Croco makes up for his betrayal, manages to feed another one to the Zeri. That was nearly 3 pentakills for Prince in one series. Excellent play by the AD carry of Lift Sandbox. Heads held high. Quite a high note to end the season off as they head into playoffs. Wishing them luck. Strong contender for a Worlds team from Korea. Really nice to see, I think. Korea has always been a top 1 or top 2 region for the past few years. And this year, it's looking like the top 3 have all shown pretty good moments of brilliance throughout the year. Wishing luck for them. You can see a nice little bit of swagger coming through from the side of them. Hope you all enjoyed this cast, and I'll see you on the next one.